over on this beautiful lake over here. My friends are little dots along the lake right there walking. And we're gonna go on a walk afterwards. I'm waiting for my mom. She's gonna be walking with us, but it was we had a blast. It was nice. We had these little picnics right here, and these benches. Today I want to talk about how God cured my depression and some of the life-changing lessons that I learned from Dr. Caroline Leaf. Because from age 11 to 16, I was very depressed and miserable. Really, I promised myself I wouldn't live to be 18 years old because I always imagined I would take my life because I figured I couldn't imagine what life would be like beyond 18. And later on, I found out that that's actually the second leading cause of death in children under the age of 18 in America is actually suicide, which is really shocking. Um, but what happened was when I was 16 and I had hit rock bottom, and I was drunk and high at a party, and I thought, man, this is the worst I've ever been in my life. And I thought, when was I the happiest? And I remember it was when I was on fire for God, and I had that flame, and I lost it, and I wanted it back. And I went to this Christian youth camp, and we would go out on the lakes, and we would go out on walks and hikes, and it was called Wilderness Trails. And um, there was this guy just beaming with the love of God, and he would just gather the young people together around the fireplace, and he'd tell us these stories about about God. And he was like, when you give your heart to Christ, he will take you on a journey that you cannot now imagine. And I was like, I want that. One thing, his name was Tim. He was all excited about Dr. Caroline Leaf. She was a neuroscientist who's been studying the human brain for over 20 years at the time. Now it's probably been longer than 30 years. Um, but what was really fascinating about her is she had not just studied the science, she studied the scriptures. She was a scientist who believed in the scriptures and allowed that to direct and guide the research and studies that she would do. And it used to be back in the day that people would say to the scientists, they're like, hey, do you believe in God? They're like, I don't believe in God, I'm a scientist. But now studies have been showing so much and proving the Bible that if you ask scientists, do you believe in God? They're like, yeah, I believe in God, I'm a scientist. And that's kind of what she was showing. She was showing how for many years the brain science was taught that once you damage your brain you can't repair it, and that brain cells lost are gone forever and the brain's not able to repair, and once it's damaged for good. And she was showing how in Romans 12 1 and 2 it says that we could be renewed, be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. And it looks like my mom's back here, and she was um, just doing a live waiting for you, ready to go. All right, cool. I was talking about my story about Dr. Caroline Leaf and how um, learning those principles really changed my life.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You did.
So one thing that I realized is that um, when we're able to renew our mind, that shows that science calls it neuroplasticity or neurogenesis. And she was showing that your brain has the ability to repair itself. And what's really powerful is psychology wants you to think that if your brain is broken or you have a chemical imbalance, that there's something physically with your brain. And a lot of mental health issues that we have is because the brain is broken or their brain is not functioning. So people feel that they're trapped through their brain. But what she was showing is that your mind and your brain are not the same thing. Changing your mind, your thoughts, your thinking, your beliefs, the meaning that you attach to experiences, changing your mind can actually change and reshape your brain. And um, and what's really beautiful about that is all of us can choose what we're gonna think about, choose what we're gonna do in life. And she shared with me how we're all created in we were creating God's image. So God is love. And if we're really creating God's image, then that means that we are all wired in the love direction. Naturally, our brains are created, we physiologically, science has found that we don't actually have the process to deal with what she was calling these toxic thoughts. And thoughts take up mental real estate. You could see them under a microscope. They look like trees. And she was showing how we we're created to think in the love direction, but we learn fear, and we learn hate, unforgiveness, bitterness. But our brain is wired for love and compassion and care. So when we think bitterness or anger, then the brain's like love, so we produce more oxytocin, and then we're like, no, we want fear, so we're like endorphins, and we get these chemical imbalance in our brain, and that's what a lot of these mental illnesses start to be. So at the time, they put me on antidepressants, and while I was so depressed, what's wild to me is that when you read the symptoms of antidepressants, one of them is increased thoughts of suicide, which is ridiculous. It's like, I'm having a depression issue, so you're gonna give me antidepressants that now is gonna increase the suicide? That don't make no sense, right? That the key is to actually renew the mind and change the way that we view our thoughts. And she showed how in Deuteronomy the scripture says, I lay before you blessing and cursing, life and death. And it looked like I disconnected a little bit. And as you can see, got the lake on one side, my beautiful mother over here, and I've got a field. So I'm like really in the middle of nowhere right now. You can see the mountains off in the distance. So if I break the connection, thank you for your patience. Hopefully the story and the science and the scriptures is powerful enough to hang in there. Type power in the chat if so far you're thinking this have been a powerful study. And there might be some wind, but you know, this is hopefully it still is a blessing to someone. Yeah, it sounds good. So what's really fascinating about this is that she quoted in Deuteronomy how I lay before you blessing and cursing, life and death. And God says, choose life, that thou and thy seed may live. And she was sharing how you cannot choose your circumstances. You can't change your circumstances, but you could choose your reactions. And that hit me because she helped me to see that my situation in life is not something that I controlled. I didn't choose to be born. I didn't choose to be raised the way that I am. I didn't choose to be male. I didn't choose to experience the experiences that happen in my life, but I can choose my reaction. And we get to choose life or choose death. And she was showing how these toxic thoughts of bitterness, resentment, anger, unforgiveness, these look like toxic, gnarly, sick trees in the mind. But healthy, loving, caring, compassion, patient thoughts, they look like these beautiful, luscious, they're called trees of your mind. And these toxic thoughts, they create chemical imbalance in the brain. And when we learn to detox our thoughts and when we change our thinking, it literally changes the brain structure. So we're not in bondage to our brain. Our brain can be renewed and changed and modified by our mind. I thought that was the most beautiful thing because for the first time, I started taking responsibility and started recognizing, okay, well, what can I change? And I realized I had a lot of unforgiveness that I had towards my mom.
And he changed overnight.
Yes, and she sees that it was like changing overnight. And then during that experience, I really had to watch through some of those videos, and she taught me how to forgive, and she was showing how I could lay my forgiveness at the foot of the cross, my unforgiveness at the foot of the cross. I could go to Jesus. I could say, God, I don't know how. I don't know what to do with this pain or this hurt. I don't know how to handle this forgiveness, but I give this to you. I give you permission to work in my life. I give you permission to help me to heal, and I give you permission to teach me how to think. And God started shifting my thoughts about life, and I'm very grateful that I have my mom. She's my favorite mom in the whole wide world. I wouldn't want any other mother. I'm so glad that I didn't stay in foster care. I'm glad I wasn't adopted. I was glad that mom raised me. I'm very grateful. Yes, and but the forgiveness, I realized these unforgiveness, that was something that really was causing a big issue. You enjoying the walk, Kamran? Doesn't he look like a Mexican man? He's got the whole thing. He's a man of few words. But I'm glad you're here, Kamran. And we're getting closer to some of our friends. They're all right over there along the lake. So with Dr. Caroline Leaf, she was showing me this healing process, and I was so blessed by this because it was learning how to forgive and let go of the past and change and take the scriptures and apply them to my mind and my heart and heal through that. And really, I started teaching people. I invited my friend Josh, I invited my friend Danielle, I invited my mom, I invited everyone who would ever listen to come and hear what I've been learning. And we would, like, I would invite someone and we'd watch like an hour training that she did. And we would go through this like 21-day detox. And as we were going through this process, it was hard, it was challenging, it was difficult, it was painful, it was raw. But the more that I went through it, the more God started to heal and help. And then eventually I was off of the antidepressants, didn't really need them anymore. And God really turn things around. So I mean, that's what I remember in a gist. But if you want to know more, just type more in the chat. If you find this helpful, let me know. Today, I'm going to keep this vlog a little short. Hopefully, you enjoyed the testimony. But until next time, remember, God doesn't call it qualified, He qualifies it called. Have a great day. God bless.